So today we finish our two-part series on Wally Amos's book entitled The Watermelon Credo. In that book, he set forth a manner of living that is really fulfilling and successful. And we made this into an acronym. The first half, water, we did last week. This week, we're doing melon. So this credo is this credo, which is the word watermelon turned into an acronym, provides some really great wisdom for keeping our cool when the heat feels like it's really on, which it can, lots of times. And a lot of times we can do that by having a slice of watermelon, which cools us down. And we have some downstairs again. We have to have watermelon 2 weeks in a row. Yes, at fellowship we have watermelon to keep you cool. Yeah. So last week we looked at water and that part of watermelon, and I'm going to summarize that up. Quick review. W, whatever we create becomes our reality. A fundamental teaching of science of mind, of New Thought teaching. What we believe creates our reality. A, attitude is the magic word. So your outlook on life is one of your greatest assets. Really is. So are you a cup that is half full or half empty, as the saying goes? Are you full, overflowing with gratitude and joy? Because that's the attitude that we want. An attitude of gratitude. Oh, it's turned around. All right. T, together, everyone achieves more. So that is why it's so wonderful to have this beautiful community. Because as we come together on Sundays, you might not realize that we are creating more love in the world. We are creating more of the good that we want to feel and see in the world. We're doing this. We're doing it through the energy of the multiverse. That's what we are doing. And respect yourself and others. That's a big deal, to respect ourselves and to respect others. We have a vision for our world, which if we really lived this credo, we could accomplish. We can accomplish it in our life, and it ripples out. As we know, it affects the collective. And today we start with melon, okay? So M, make commitments, right? Sometimes we're so afraid of making the wrong commitment that we don't make any commitment at all. But so much more is lost through inaction than action. So pay attention to those commitments and what we're not following through on. And I'm going to go into something that Ernest Holmes tells us in Science of Mind. It's on page 390. Declare, he says, there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, and guards. Tells me what to do, when to act, how to act. Having done this with perfect faith, act with perfect assurance. Declare further, everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. Know this, see this, feel this. Do this every day, that gratitude, every day. We should all do this is still Holmes, until the time comes when it is no longer necessary. When the time comes, we will know it because our demonstrations will have been made. So, what does it mean our demonstrations will have been made? we will be living what we are thinking. So we look around in our personal life, and are we experiencing the beauty we want, the joy we want, the love we want? Are we experiencing? If we are, then we are following this. And if we're not, we can change it. It's beautiful. We can change anything. So there, in a few words, are great counsel for making a commitment. Tap into divine guidance within. Declare it, trust it, and move forward. There's a lot of things that one can be committed to. But the one that I ask us really to, don't forget it, deepen into it. We have these moments of pausing, of maybe a little relapse, of not remembering how we are spiritually aligned with such a great power. We are that power. And we sometimes forget that. We are power. We are, because we're creating our lives, we are creating all the time. So what else that you commit to further your spiritual depth? Is it taking that spiritual retreat that you might have been thinking about and talking about for so long? Is it taking one of our great classes that will definitely center you in spirit? It centers me. I have to be in class. I always have been. Always have to be in class because I can tend to forget and wander off into my human thoughts and allow those things to take over. No. We need to have a spiritual practice that we do each and every day, that we remember who we are. We remember what we want to experience. So this morning, the M in watermelon invites you to make commitment, and so do I. I invite you to do that. And the E, every day can be a fun day. Woo, why not? We had a fun day on, when was it? Thursday? Wednesday. Yes, we had a fun day at the beach. We all went to the shore, and we all went to Reverend Brenda's house, and there's nothing that gives me more joy and fun than good food. So we had lots of good food at Reverend Brenda's house. So find things that you enjoy doing and do them. I originally thought that part of the acronym was a little light, maybe a little fluff, and almost changed it. And then I found this quote from Ernest Holmes that really hit, where he declared further, everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. What a great affirmation. I'll read that again. Everything necessary to the full and complete expression of joy. We must be having a pretty fun day when we do that. It's mine now. It's always ours now. We can create that. In a biographical book about Ernest Holmes, Marilyn Leo, and it was entitled, she wrote this, In His Company, she says that Ernest wasn't interested in spiritual growth that wasn't natural and joyful. He didn't want anyone who was serious. He wanted people who were sincere, and there's a big difference. How deep is our sincerity in what we believe? Elsewhere in the book, he is quoted as saying, you should take what you do seriously, but never yourself. One of the problems we have, this is for ministers there, one of the problems we have as ministers is believing our own press notices. This is all him, I didn't say that. I don't have any press notices. I think I should. Anyway, I don't need them. You ask yourself, how can I feel the joy that Jehovah said that when I am poor or sick or unhappy, how do I feel the joy there? And Jesus, the great teacher, said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor with heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Just bring. That's why meditation is so very important, to deepen into this great abundance that is in our lives and to focus on that. So the first step in getting out of our mental cloud that obscures the light of spirit then is take the promises of Jesus, who was, as I've said before, a New Thought writer. When you just take his writing and his teachings, he is teaching us to be one, because we are one. And know that it is literally and spiritually true. Right in the midst of the most desperate situation, one can always proclaim the presence and light of the infinite and move that mental move in dissolving anything that feels dark and heavy. And we all are human beings. We all go through that darkness, that heaviness. It's part of this whole experience of being human. But at the same time, the more we deepen into this teaching, the more we remember. We remember, wait a minute, I have an alternative here. Remember, before you even had these teachings in your life, you were just the news. You were just whatever was taking on in your place that could have been really catastrophic or hard because we didn't have an alternative. Now we have that takes place, and our attitude, we know how to respond to it. We know that this too shall pass. We know that there is one presence, one light, one power. We are it. We are God. We are the God of our understanding. And that's a powerful thing to believe. So someone once said there are two ways to be happy. The first is to have all the things you want. And the second is to have the wisdom to find joy and gratitude in what you have, because we have so much. We always have so much. The E in watermelon suggests that later on. I think Ernest Holmes would agree with this. The scripture that says, "Today is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." Let us rejoice and be glad in it. We only have this moment, right? We only have this is the eternal now moment. I can't say that enough. To bring ourselves back into right now, what am I creating for my future? Because we're creating tomorrow, now. So that brings us to L, love. Nothing else but love matters, as Stephen so beautifully sang for us. So, love is the answer no matter what the question. And Ernest Holmes wrote this in his textbook. Love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth, the very reason for our being. And you know, the more I study, like even the quantum physics, when you do quantum metaphysics, it always comes down to, first of all, consciousness, and second of all, which is the same thing, love. It just is. It's the glue that holds this universe together. It holds us together. Think of where we would be without that love. And Ernest Holmes also said, love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Everything is love and law, divine law. Beautiful statements in the abstract. But in its application to things, it can get a little dicey sometimes. So Charlie Brown once said, right? I love all mankind. It's people I can't stand. I'm so happy. those moments. So I love this prayer of compassion. So I'm going to give you all these examples in this prayer. I'm not giving it to you. The prayer is, Heavenly Father, help me to remember that the jerk who cut me off in traffic last night is a single father who just worked a double shift in order to buy a birthday present for his daughter and is now rushing home to cook dinner and to put her to bed, do the laundry and spend a few moments with her before it was that time. Help me to remember that the pierced, tattooed, disinterested young man that can't seem to make a decision correctly is a worried 19-year-old who is balancing his apprehension over final exams and if he can qualify for that student loan next semester. Remind me, Lord, that the scary-looking homeless person begging for money in the same spot every day is imprisoned possibly by his addiction that I can't imagine even in my worst nightmare. Help me to remember that old couple walking annoyingly slow, which I find myself being in these days, but that remember that. So I remember when I was younger and when people walk slow, I'm like, you can't walk that slow. Well, now I'm that person. So remember that maybe that person got a diagnosis that they don't have a long time to live and they want to enjoy every moment of every day so they're not rushing through life. We don't know what another person is going through. We do not know that. So that's the prayer of compassion. Remind me each day of all the gifts that you give me. The greatest gift is love. It is not enough to share my love with those I hold dear. Help me to open my heart to all humanity. Let me be slow to judgment and quick to patience, empathy and love. Amen. That's the prayer of compassion. Powerful prayer, because we really don't know what someone else is going through, and we get impatient, we judge. So this prayer is allowing us to just relax in the moment and just be grateful for everything, to have compassion for what others are going through. And that brings us to the O in melon. One day at a time. The one is obvious and speaks to the statement by Lei Zhu. The journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a single step. And it is in harmony. It's in harmony with the 12-step credo of just take this one moment at a time, one moment. At a deeper level, it is about being available in this present moment. Are we conscious to the moment? Are we just going through things? To be conscious each and every present moment, not living in the past with regret or living in the future with worry and projection of what might be when we don't know. This is the moment right here, right now. Even with excitement and joy, we can be in this now moment. I've had a great honor in presiding over many, many different memorial services in my ministry. And a number of them were for individuals who passed suddenly. Nobody knew. In fact, someone we know, I think, I'm not at liberty, I don't think, to announce it, passed suddenly. And nobody knew that like the moment before. So a number of them were individuals who passed suddenly, no warning. They weren't ill and deteriorating. They were simply alive one minute and the next they weren't in this in this life of humanity. They weren't here on the planet. And we know that we are eternal beings. But this human experience we're in is fleeting. It does not last forever. It passes. But we last forever. Isn't that wonderful? Ernest Holmes talks about that in his book, Science of Mind, how we are eternal beings. And that brings me great comfort to know that. And he also says in that book that we bring our individuality with us. And this is his own opinion, so just believe it or not. I want to believe it. But we don't bring all the angst and the illness and all of that stuff. And that's why you can have a past life experience, really, without thinking you come back to the same plane. He didn't believe that. The same planet. You keep evolving. We are evolving beings. Our consciousness is always evolving. God is always evolving. And so we're all part of that evolution. The only moment that we are truly assured of is right here, right now. This one, this very sweet and precious one. God is the eternal now. And we have a song lyric, one of our spiritual songs, that says, "Give me one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be." How about if that moment is every moment? One day, one moment at a time. Brings us to N, the end of our watermelon acronym, which is never become a victim. Never become a victim. Our last letter really takes us full circle to what the W started with. That whatever we create in our minds becomes our reality. In other words, we are never a victim. We are responsible for our experiences. I remember, before I found this teaching, which is over 30 years ago, I spent most of my life being a victim, replaying, or it was me. Just, when you come from a background of abuse and neglect and all of that stuff, there's a tendency to blame everything on someone. And when we're always blaming someone else, we are the victim. There's no power in being the victim. So after a lot of deep spiritual work, I found out that I'm a powerful being that can change my thoughts, my mind, anytime I want to, and claim that power. If we are God, then we are power. We are really powerful creators. Love that. And I believe that the most helpful thing that we can do when we experience things we'd rather not experience is, one hand, we can drive ourselves crazy, which I've been known to do. We can drive ourselves crazy, and on the other, we are simply victims of circumstance. And rather accept that we had a hand and decided that what we're going to do with it, which is what I did. I decided I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm not going to be a victim anymore. And we could all, it's living in the past when we're a victim. So we don't want that. We're going to stay centered in spiritual truth, right in the middle of anything that is taking place. What are we going to learn from it, we can ask ourselves, as it's taking place? Because there's a lot of things that take place in life that we have no idea how it happened, why it happened, and we try to, this is the spiritual guilt that a lot of spiritual, I see this, a lot of this happens in this spiritual teaching, where people are like, what was I thinking to cause this in my life? What did I do to cause this? You know, you get the flu. What did I do to cause this? Well, I don't know what I did. But the thing is, how am I going to respond to it? What am I going to do about it? What am I going to learn from it? There's always something to learn. But never, never become a victim. Never become a victim. So we have these 10 ideas to keep our cool when life seems to really heat up, which we've been talking about for 5 weeks now, so that we can lead a life that is empowered and spiritually grounded. As I share them all again, very briefly, which one or two seem to stand out for you? Just think about this, because you know you can make your own credo, you can make your own acronym out of anything. So W, whatever you believe creates your reality. A, attitude is that magic word. T, together everyone creates more. E, enthusiasm is a wellspring of life. R, respect yourself as well as others. M, make a commitment. E, every day can be a fun day. It's my favorite. L, love is the answer, whatever the question. O, one day at a time. And N, never become a victim. I encourage us to live our lives more fully, being grateful for each now moment, being grateful. Just being that attitude of gratitude attracts such high vibrational experiences to our lives. It's invaluable. So I say, let us all live by this credo, and so it is.